Indiana's an amazing place. It's one of those places, and my grandfather served there back in when it was the Great Lakes Mission. He was in Indiana, and before I left, he said, "Mike, it's one of the only places, one of the only states in the whole United States where you can literally stand on top of the roof with a pair of binoculars and you can see from one end of the state to the other end of the state." Basically true. Indiana is almost flat as can be the whole way through the state. In the very southern part of the state, you get into some rolling hills down near Bloomington, where the campus of Indiana University, good old Bobby Knight, that's where you start to get into some rolling hills, but before that, it is literally flat. And Indiana's interesting. So in the state of Indiana, Indianapolis is right central part of the state, and like every major freeway from the United States comes through Indiana. It's literally the heart of the United States. It's interesting how it's a hub for like any direction you want to go, and that's right there in Indianapolis. When you get outside of Indianapolis, there's a lot of little suburbs around Indianapolis. So the city it expands quite a bit. It's big. When you get outside those suburbs of the city, you start to get into the territory where you may drive miles and see a barn on the freeway, or see just nothing but cornfields and soybean fields for miles and miles and miles. And it's one of those states where between major cities you have literally small teeny little farm towns every 40 miles or so. It's very few and far between. The cities it's interesting. Downtown Indianapolis, they have quite a few sky rises. Nothing too tall. I think their tallest building is about 47 stories, but they have a lot of tall buildings right around that circle center that I was telling you about, right in the heart of the city. And then when you get outside of Indianapolis, they have major cities kind of in the surrounding parts of the state. So up north they have South Bend. South Bend is of course where Notre Dame is, so you have a very big Catholic hub. And it's interesting because in South Bend you have, on one side of the street, you have very rich, wealthy Caucasians, and on the other side of the street you have kind of the poor community, and there's more of the more of the African American and more of the Latin American group, and it's an amazing town, but it's huge. It's a large city. And then you get over to the east side of it, and there's a city called Muncie, Indiana. There's also on the the northeast, you've got Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne is huge. And if you go to the west, on the west of it, you've got Lafayette, and Lafayette has Purdue University there. And then if you go down south, you've got Bloomington and you've got Terre Haute. And Terre Haute's kind of towards the southwest part of the state. It's not huge by any means, but it's a big city. And a lot of the feel with Indiana is you've got it's a very diverse culture. You've got a lot of Hispanic people throughout the state, basically like any other state, but even that far north, you definitely have huge Hispanic communities. In fact, when I got there were probably about 16 Spanish-speaking missionaries. I would say now today, there's probably about 40. And when I left, I mean, it increased to about 20 to 20. We were around 25 or 26 when I left my mission. So very diverse. And there's a very big African American population, and they are incredible. They are some of the most humble people to teach in the world, and obviously you're going to find that no matter what race you belong to. You're going to find those that are soft and humble, and you're going to find those that are hardened and maybe a little bit prideful, I guess you'd say. And that happens in every city. But Indiana has a lot of, when you get into those small towns, you're dealing more with coal mining towns, more with manufacturing towns, those kind of things, and so you're dealing with a lot of very humble people. It's amazing, very diverse.